Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. Love them or hate them, sports games are essential to any console, especially in the 6th generation when multiple companies developed games for a single sport. After the Xbox had no baseball games in 2001, we got 4 in 2002. I recently played through them all, and today I want to review them and rank them. I've wanted to review more sports games for the ranking list, and instead of giving each one its own video, I thought it would be good to group them together like this. Also, I'm not a huge sports guy. I don't know a lot about baseball. I know the rules, but as far as rosters and things like that go, I don't know a lot. So no, this is a unique perspective, not coming from a baseball expert, but as someone who finds it fun. All footage was captured from an original Xbox, and I'd like to thank my YouTube channel members for their support. But let's go ahead and hop into these in release order. The first baseball game on Xbox was All-Star Baseball 2003. It was released on March 7th, 2002 for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. It was developed and published by Acclaim in its fading years, as the company would lose its MLB license only 2 years after this. Although this series had been around since the 1990s, with Frank Thomas's Big Hurt Baseball. It would later receive the name All-Star Baseball in 1997, and this series had been ongoing for a while, and my family actually owned one of them when I was growing up on the Nintendo 64. However, this is my first time playing any entry for the series on the Xbox. The presentation for All-Star is good and features a lot of different game modes to pick from. Out of most of these games today, this one has a really solid lineup. Personally, when I play a sports game, I'm looking for a franchise mode. I like the RPG experience when it comes to something like this. My opportunity to lead a team, manage funds, players, and track statistics. Building the perfect team and being able to lead each team to victory. You get that with the season and series play, which is the same setup for both. The choices here are limited and feel more like just playing the game with a little more structure, but it is nice to have seasonal play with established teams. Easily though, the best place to play is in the franchise mode. This is a mode unique among all the other game modes, which lets you create your own team. You pick a logo, stadium, and build up this team. It's just like season mode where it's more structured and there's not a ton of features, but it does offer enough creativity to make this game feel substantial, and it's where I stuck to the most. The menus are simple, and getting in the games is easy. Of course, on top of this, you get quick play and exhibition modes to get you straight into the game, and they are available for multiplayer. Once again though, All-Star offers a few more things to make this stand out. For one, you get a trivia game going over baseball history. This is pretty throwaway, and I know nothing about baseball history, so it wasn't for me, though it's cool that it's here. You also get trading cards, which if I recall correctly started coming in every sports game at some point, but in 2002, comparing them all, this was something nice and different, and it adds a collectability factor. Overall, I do like the amount of features of All-Star Baseball, but it does lack depth. The franchise modes could have been a lot more and are missing essential elements like stat tracking. Though it does have a lot of modes, it doesn't do a lot with them. I like that it's here though, and as we move through this, it's certainly not the worst feature list today. Yet what's key in any baseball game is its gameplay. I will go ahead and admit that All-Star Baseball is on the lower tier of baseball games I'm talking about today. That doesn't mean it's bad, but it's incredibly average at what it does. Batting is simple and matches up with a few other games today. You have a bat symbol and you want to place it where you think the ball will go. You swing, hit A, and if you hit the ball, you run bases. This felt fine, but I did like the feature that allowed you to make it more like an arcade game. You just have to time your press when the ball comes in. The biggest issue with batting is the amount of downtime. After you swing and miss, or if you walk off and switch players, or if the pitcher's getting ready, it all drags hard. There is a fast mode to speed up animations, but it makes gameplay a little wonky and speeds up the pitch rather than the animations leading up to it. Although batting wasn't a huge issue, it's hard to get that part wrong. Pitching and outfield play are on the weaker side. For pitching, you just tap a button corresponding to the different styles of pitch, and you move the ball where you want to throw it. Nothing interesting is going on here, and though simplicity is nice, you'll see how other games handle pitching, and it just doesn't feel great here. Just moving the cursor cursor feels too simplistic in a way. However, it does make it easy to pick up and play for new players or multiplayer. Though in the outfield, I can never quite get used to throwing the ball. You throw to players based on their position, where B corresponds to first base, Y to second, and X to third. It makes sense and works most of the time, but it feels overly slow. Like the game takes its time to do things, and it never feels like rapid action. I know baseball is not quite a fast sport, but this feels like it's a detriment to keeping up with runners. Now, I complain about this game, but I don't think it's bad by any means. It's just a fairly basic baseball game. It has quirks and feels overtly simple or slow, so it's not one that I kept wanting to play after. So in a sea of other baseball games, this was not the one with the gameplay that kept me hooked. The announcers in this game are one of the better elements of this game. It features Steve Lyons and Bob Brenly. The depth of their lines is surprisingly deep, and it felt like so many of the players that came out had some explanation of their histories or how they were playing at that time.
The heater blows him away, and it's strike three.
Ken Griffey Jr. had a monster second half of the season, despite playing almost the entire year with an injured hamstring.
It was the kind of detail that stood out to me and piqued my interest in what the announcers were saying. Mix this with some good crowd sound and stadium ambience, and overall it's a great sounding game. Though I found the music to sound a bit cheap in the menus, but honestly that's just a nitpick. I think attention was paid to pitches and bat hits to make the audio come together well. This is a clean looking game too as far as the stadium goes. The colors are nice here, but the crowd is a bit of a letdown. There's a blur on them and the background makes it feel somewhat outdated even for the time. The same goes for the faces. Where most other games today were getting full faces, here it feels like they're pasted on. It's an okay look for the time, but when you put it against what other baseball games were doing, I don't think it's as impressive. However, I was impressed by the animations. The movement and things the characters do stand out for the time, and you can tell they were paying attention to small elements like this. So it's a bit of a mixed bag as far as the graphics go, but it's certainly not bad. I came out of All-Star Baseball 2003 feeling like it was alright. It does a baseball game fine enough. It does have a lot of modes, though they're very simple. The look is okay, but the sound is really well done, with the best non-comedic announcers we're talking about today. The baseball gameplay is rudimentary though, offering exactly what you would expect, but it felt slower than it needed to be. I think it all comes together to make something around average. It's fine for a quick session, but if it were 2002 and you had the pick of any baseball game, there were better options that you could pick up and have a better time with, and we will put this on the ranking list for now, but we will see where it ends up as we move along. Just a few weeks later, on March 18th, 2002, we would get Triple Play 2002, releasing on both the PS2 and Xbox. This was EA's series of baseball games that had been running since 1995, though this would be the last Triple Play game, since they would change the name of their baseball series to MVP Baseball with the next entry. Funny enough, Pandemic Studios developed this game, the people who made the Star Wars Battlefront series, which is a weird connection as this is their only sports game they've ever made. Well, I find that EA sports games in the early 2000s tended to be a little lackluster, but let's see how Triple Play holds up. Triple Play 2002 lacks many features compared to other simulation games of the year. You have a single game and season modes. There is a quick home run derby mode and a playoffs mode, which simply involves playing the playoffs. As someone who wants a franchise or in-depth season mode, this game is not tailored to it in any way. The season mode features almost nothing in terms of menus or choices. You pick a team and you just play the schedule. It's depressing how little care is put into the single player side of this game. It seems tailored to play a quick game with a few friends over, and that's it. Surely that is fine, as sports games are great for multiplayer, but they need to keep you around outside of that. Here you play a few games and it's the same thing over and over. Luckily you can change the settings here, like how many innings you can run, which surprisingly, All-Star Baseball did not let you change that. If you're looking for a good baseball game with a lot to do, you're not going to get that here, though if the game is fun enough, maybe then it can hold up. Triple Play, once again, is a simple baseball game, but in comparison to the last one, it's quite a bit easier. Pitching here has you pressing a button based on the pitch you want, and you choose where you throw it in the strike zone. Yet here there is a nice energy to the game. Triple Play is zippy and not remotely slow. You get up to the pitch and you can throw quickly. This game does not skip a beat and you can rush right through it. Baseball has its issues of being a slow sport, but in game form I don't think it translates well, so luckily here they made pitching seamless and simple. There is something about the streamlining of the gameplay here that makes it simplistic, which helps it and hurts it. I think batting is solid here. You get a marker for your bat and you try to match it up with where the pitch is coming from. Hitting a ball is intuitive and it works. And the speed of the game makes it feel like you are constantly swinging, though I do think this is the easiest game here today. I had games here where I was slamming home run after home run, which is fun at first, but not long lasting. You tend to blow out the opponents even on tougher difficulties, and that's not part of the fun. I do enjoy the overall batting and pitching better than All-Star, though the outfield play is a bit different. Whereas most simulation games have passing the bases corresponding to face buttons, EA tried to simplify it where you hit A to throw and you will auto throw to the best possible base. At first, I thought this was a great idea. It makes gameplay even simpler. You didn't have to pre-plan, you could just throw. Yet on one hand, this does make it too easy, but on the other hand, I found that it just didn't work well. I often found that I would pass to the wrong person, or it would pass to where I didn't want it to go in situational parts of the game. Once again, it's where simplicity is there to help new players, but bungles the game in the long run. I do think this game has an overall simplicity and ease when you play it that I do admire. It was fun for a little bit, but that simplicity did make the game a little more boring. Also, sometimes the streamlining just didn't work. I do think there is fun here, and it's not a bad game necessarily. I made it through the games and had fun with it. Mix that with a lack of anything to do as far as game modes go, and you'll have a game that has no lasting impact. The announcers in this game are Bob Costas and Harold Reynolds, who both have perfect sounding voices for a game like this. The announcer quality is solid here and well done, though by comparison, All-Star does have a much more in-depth amount of lines. This is a little more basic, just giving out scores and how the game is playing out. Still though, it's solid.
Strikes him out. Bob, sometimes you got to make a good pitch, and that was one of those times. Circle K on your scorecard.
Most of the audio is unnoticeable, blending well into the background. This game does use real music though, and I'm not a fan of most of it, but luckily that's mainly in the menus and is not blasted in the game where you're mostly getting organ music. Visually, I'm mixed on this one. I do like the 3D faces here, though it does have that EA look. They kind of look like The Sims, but I do like that the faces are fully formed. The animations though are noticeably choppy and repeated. I found that it wasn't smooth looking and things started looking the same all around. In turn, I think it made the baseball games less fluid and they didn't really stand out. Things like replays are choppy and slow and don't stand out. I do think the stadiums look nice in general and the crowd looks fine enough. There's just not a lot here that visually stands out. Triple Play gets some things right. I do think batting and pitching can be fun, yet it leans too hard into simplicity for a game that's meant to be a simulation and ends up feeling lackluster. The visuals are fine, and so is the audio, but when it comes to features, it's an absolute letdown. The season mode is the only thing close to an RPG management system, and there's nothing here but playing scheduled games, meaning I'm gonna hop to another baseball game that's gonna keep me glued to the TV, leaving this one only for multiplayer nights, but even then, you could do better. Triple Play is just a middling game all around. I'm gonna rank this below All-Star. I think both have their issues, but the announcer is better in All-Star, and there's so many more features in All-Star. I do like that Triple Play allows you to change game settings, but there's nothing to keep you around. I don't think either of them are amazing, but Triple Play leans more towards bad, and All-Star just kind of sits in the average zone. On May 21st, 2002, we got World Series Baseball, which was only on Xbox. It was published by Sega and developed by Visual Concepts. I say this is an Xbox exclusive, but really this is an enhanced port of World Series Baseball 2K2, which was released on the Dreamcast in 2001. This is one of the last in the long-running World Series Baseball series that had been going on since 1994. It had taken a small break for a few years, but did make a comeback at the start of the 2000s. Unfortunately, with that comeback came with the downfall of Sega in the console market, and that's why you see a shift here to moving the latest baseball release to the Xbox. Sega usually did a good job with sports games in this era, so let's see how this one is. World Series has the game modes that I was exactly looking for. Here you do get exhibition matches, but on top of that you get a season mode, home run derby, playoffs, and franchise. When I started up this franchise mode, it gave me what I wanted. You pick your team and you act as a manager. You work with the drafts, lineups, and you have scouts, and you can bring people up from the minor leagues. And it's not as in-depth as something you might see a few years later, but it's a perfect console experience in 2002. I was thankful to get a game that offered an RPG experience of running the team. This is where I stuck to the longest out of any game today, and it was fun running my team. On top of this, you get to create your own players. You change their look and stats, which is always a nice personal touch to a game. They can be imported to your franchise team as well. The season mode is much like franchise and offers more reason to sink your teeth into a season of a game. Along with that comes the most robust baseball options of 2002. Here you can change the amount of innings you go through and a bunch of other small options. World Series gives you so much more to choose from than anything else I saw on the Xbox in 2002, and because of that, it has more replayability when I'm playing alone, but the game still has to be fun. You can tell that care was put into this game, or maybe that they had more time to flesh it out, because not only are the franchise modes in depth, but the simulation gameplay here is awesome. For one, the pitching is the best of the year, hands down. Here you still choose from your pitches, but instead of pressing a button, you move the analog stick a certain way. Once you do that, you can move the ball within the strike zone to wherever you want it to go. But there is resistance. Your stick is centered, and the more you push outside the zone, the harder it is to control. This means that it's harder to throw pitches on the edges of a strike zone, meaning there's slightly more skill involved with the pitches, making it more fun. The same goes for batting, where you still need to move a bat where the ball is going, but it's really sensitive, meaning your timing and aiming have to be precise to get a great hit. Both of these things make the game more grounded in a simulation approach that give this game a slight more difficulty, meaning you aren't just hitting home run after home run. The control and everything feels like they got it down right, and that's even in the outfield. We are back to face buttons corresponding to bases, and all of the throwing is zippy and feels reactive. Never once did any slowness on the field ruin a game, and it was a seamless experience. World Series plays excellently. Baseball is a simple game all around, but when you get it down like this, it feels awesome. I kept going back to this one as a point of reference for gameplay because of how good it felt. All of the mechanics helped build the atmosphere, but still maintained an entertainment factor, striking a balance between difficulty and a good time. I could see this one as being the one I'd pull out for multiplayer if I needed something more simulation-sided. World Series is what you want out of gameplay from a baseball game. Unfortunately, there is one knock. It's the announcers. Their commentary is extremely simplistic, only covering basic things about the game. There's not a lot of variety, and with other games today having major voices for announcers, this feels repetitive in the end.
The decision to slide just gets him in there.
Though the crowd sound is well detailed in this game, you can hear the crowd call out specific players by name, which is way more detailed than I would have expected. The sounds of bats hitting and pitches are good as well, and there's original music used here, and it has that Sega charm. It's a bit fun and cutesy. Talking about Sega charm though, the graphics look like a holdover from the Dreamcast, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Dreamcast games had a great bright color palette, and I think that shines here. The stadiums and grass all pop, and it makes the game skew more cartoony, but it also has a nice personality to it. The players have solid faces, and though I don't think they're amazing for the time, they do have good definition. Animations are solid too, and that's most evident in replays. The replays in this game are awesome, and the slow-mo is what you'd get from watching a baseball game on TV. There is character all around here, and I think that's another reason this game stands out. I feel like this happens a lot on the channel, but I came out of this game surprised. World Series Baseball from its cover is a little unassuming, but inside is a great baseball package. It has a well-done franchise mode with lots of stats and a great playing experience that's smooth and challenging. Mix that with a great look and well-done audio, and you have yourself a great package. It's not perfect. I do still think there's room for more out of a baseball game, but I had more fun than I expected out of this one, and I love that. World Series easily goes above Triple Play and All-Star. It could easily go above just based on having better modes, but not only that, it was the most entertaining to play, with a nice balance of simulation and entertainment. Yet there's still one more to go, and this one goes full on arcade. The final baseball game of 2002 for the Xbox was released on August 26, and it was MLB Slugfest 2003, which also saw releases for the PS2 and GameCube. This was developed and published by Midway, which was huge in the sports gaming world, at least for me. At this point, they were known for their silly, arcadey approaches to sports titles. Games like NBA Jam or NFL Blitz made up my childhood, where like in NFL Blitz, you could do silly things like get flames on your feet or beat the crap out of other players. They took this style and put it into the NHL Hit series, and Slugfest was their first attempt to bring it to baseball. I briefly talked about this one on a sports game video, where I suggested giving it a try. However, this time I took a much deeper look into it than I had in a long time, and let me tell you how that went. Slugfest is extremely limited in terms of game modes, which affects its longevity. Here you get an exhibition game mode, season mode, and challenge mode. That's it. The season mode itself is just a basic structure for your team so you can play matches. And challenge mode is simply you facing off against every team. You pretty much are just going to be playing baseball with as little fluff as possible. And on one hand, I admire that, but I do think it kills the game's replayability a bit. This is an arcade baseball game all about the silly side of the sport. Hard hits, beating players, and weird announcers. There's a huge opportunity to get weird with the game modes. Do an odd arcade face-off mode with modifiers or something like that. Instead, they go for a very basic approach, which is a missed opportunity and has a less replay value when you're playing by yourself. Though I'm willing to give this game a little slack, because out of every game here today, this is the most multiplayer friendly of the bunch. This game is meant to be easy to get into, and if I needed a quick baseball game with a friend, this one would be easy. The silliness and ease of getting into it makes it so the lack of game modes are less of a hassle, because more often than not, this will be a game you play with somebody else with quick matches. MLB Slugfest is by far the most interesting game to talk about today because of just how wild the gameplay is. For one, it is basic on the outside, but there is a lot here to give this game depth. For one, the pitching is hidden, yet here there's insane pitches. You see a fiery outline when you throw, and it's like watching a cartoon, which in turn makes the batting harder. This helps since batting is just a timing minigame, finding the correct time to hit the ball to score a home run, but the weird pitch angles make that a bit tougher. The hitting controls are easier, and hitting home runs is going to happen more often than not, but that's because Slugfest is more about scoring high. You will be running up huge scores, and it will be a constant back and forth. It'll be brutal too, since you can punch other players on the field. This can lead to the ball dropping out of mitts, which can prolong the game. It's absolute chaos, and that's where this game gets so much of its charm. The fact that you can play this insane game of baseball where you just beam players is crazy, and sometimes you want to do this because it can affect great player stats, where if you hit them right in the feet, they might start to limp. It's chaotic but fun. The catching in the outfield is all easygoing with simple throws and you lock on for catches, but this game is still challenging. Even on easy, with the scores going up high, you will have strong AI that will hardly make any errors. I like this because it keeps the game going smooth and fast. That is one thing that you can give Slugfest, and that is that it's a fast game. You can quickly run through a game of this, and if you're playing this with others, you're bound to have a lot of fun. Throw on some more odd stuff, like the ability to put in a code before a game that'll give you big heads, new stadiums, and a bunch of other weird stuff, and it feels like they do throw a lot at the wall to see what sticks. It's oddly like a comedy baseball game altogether, which goes right into the audio. Slugfest hands down has the best announcers. It's both Tim Kitzrow and the great Jimmy Shorts. Keeping the insane energy of the game, these two talk about the wildest stuff, saying insane things, talking about kids' birthday parties, intruders in the booth, and constantly talking about how giant the players' arms are. It's absurd humor, and I love it. This game kept me laughing back in the day, and it still makes me laugh. The voices help this game stay fun.
Hey, Jimmy, how are you? Hey, nice new monitor, huh?
Yeah,
They
it's
got you a
about
new
time.
one.
It's about time.
Hey, your old one was pretty beat up, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't mine. It was Stadium.
Yeah, they said they found some nacho cheese and some coffee, all
You know
kinds of
what?
stuff in the back of your old one.
Yeah, sure. I
Gotta-
just dumped it all in there.
Well, you got to be more careful, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. You know, you can't. Even this new monitor doesn't have a ledge. if I want to put like
What do you mean a ledge?
a ledge that you can put coffee on.
Well, it's just a monitor. It's not supposed to
Well,
have
it
a ledge.
should have a ledge. Here, look.
Well, it
If
doesn't.
you put something like this over here.
You
it
don't put
just-
your coffee
yeah,
up there, Jimmy.
What happened? It just tipped all over the monitor.
Well,
There
they
you
tell-
go.
It's not meant. You're not supposed
Well,
to
yeah,
put
well,
something on there.
Well, you're supposed to.
You put
Yes,
it on the
you are.
table.
Well, I put it up there. I'd rather have it knocked off there
Well-
than fall all over my pants.
Well, this thing's shot now.
Well, good.
I think overall the sound is well done, where it's all about giant cartoony sound effects, flames on players, players grunting from hits, and the sounds of the crowd. It's loud and in your face, pushing the off-the-wall nature. The look of the game is a bit weak to me though. Don't get me wrong, I do love the amount of animations for players getting hit and all of the weird effects players get, but I found this game to be a little too dark. The backgrounds are a bit blurry too. It's not an ugly game, but it doesn't feel strong. I think the players' faces though could be a lot better, and I do feel like that arcade mentality is shown in the graphics here. The characters are not that strong to look at as other baseball games from today. Yet I don't think that's a huge hit since it's not focused on realism, but more on an entertainment factor. I do wish overall the game was brighter though. MLB Slugfest still holds up as a fun multiplayer arcade game. The energy this game brings is like nothing else on today's list, and I admire that. Going for simple gameplay, but managing to still be hard as nails. This game never stops making me laugh with its weirdness, and the announcers help with that so much. I do think the look is a bit dark, and I don't think there's any single player replay value. There is a significant lack of game modes or anything to keep me around, meaning I liked it less than I thought I would. It's fun, especially with another, but it needs something else, especially when you're alone, and I don't think this game really has that. Yet as a whole, I do think it's a good game. Yet this is the last game in today's ranking, so let's get them all ranked up, and I'm gonna go through them one by one. Right at the bottom, we have Triple Play 2002. While not a bad game, it is close to being one. I found the simplistic outfield controls to kill the game a bit, and the game modes to be lacking, and the whole game just doesn't have a great replay value. Above that, I have All-Star Baseball 2003, beating out Triple Play in terms of game modes, but it just doesn't reach the heights of the other two games, largely due to the slowness of the overall gameplay, which makes this one just okay. Second is going to be MLB Slugfest 2003. I'm surprised by this one since I thought I'd like the arcade style the best. Yet once again, the lack of things to do let it down. It's a fun game when you play it with somebody and it's really funny, but as far as playing alone, there's just not a lot of replay value. So the number one slot is going to be World Series Baseball. Not only does this game offer the best experience with an awesome franchise mode, but it also features the best stat tracking and management design. It also has the most entertaining gameplay, with a smooth playing outfield, pitching, and batting design, making it simple but not overly easy. This was an awesomely designed game that kept me coming back for more. Yet, I also have to rank these on my original Xbox ranking list. As of right now, I have reviewed 118 games on the channel, which now becomes 122. Triple Play enters in at 111. I think it has more replay value than Narnia, but I think Turok is doing something far more interesting. All-Star goes in not much higher at number 108, where Harry Potter had some broken elements that held it back. All-Star is at least competent, though Chase Stunt Driver is far more charming. Slugfest makes it out of the 100s, entering in at number 91. I think I'd go back and replay this one over Madden 2002 due to its fun multiplayer design, yet World Racing has a far better look, and I found it to be the more replayable game alone. World Series Baseball enters in a little higher at number 63. This was a hard placement because it went over some notable games, but I can't deny the good time I had with this one. I kept going back to this game to play the season mode. I was really entertained by this one. It makes it here based on replay value. I put it above The Hobbit because The Hobbit didn't have me going back as often as this, yet I put Apex above this because Apex has something undeniably unique with its story mode to keep it far more memorable. But do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments how you feel about my ranking. As I'm not a huge baseball fan, some of you baseball fans might like one of these games way more than I did. Also, let me know how you like this format. I feel like grouping the sports games like this is a fun way to do reviews on them. Leave a like as it really helps me out in the algorithm, subscribe to keep up with more retro Xbox content, and be sure to check out my second channel, Camp Extras, for more gaming content. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. You really help out the channel, and I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.